Good morning and welcome to Ed's World, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and I am joined once again by a veteran of this program and one of the first guests we've had on here, and possibly the person that got me into doing this myself here, Robert, one half of the generational gap. Robert, welcome to Ed's World.
Hello, Ed. Thank you for having me. It's good, 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 even great to be here.
Well, thank you for that, of course. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. My wife had to work part of the day, but other than that, once she got home, we had a good day. We hung out and I cooked ribs, so did a cookout because I'm here in Florida, so you can cook out on Thanksgiving Day. You
Do they
know?
still do a lot of deep fried turkeys down there? I know it's usually too cold to do that here, but
Well, yeah, it's just not, it's not like the big rage that it was a while back. Because when you combine, a vat of hot grease and Florida man, um, you know, a lot of things can happen. So some of the popularity waned.
well, before we get started here, I gotta, pull something out of your server here, and this is kind of something that your co-host brought up, and actually was the one that put this out here, and that is, making sure you read the articles rather than going through and just looking at the headline. And of course, I am talking about the Baby Yoda headline that we have on here. So what we had here, let me get this up where I can scroll on this. We had a headline out here that said that Baby Yoda has become problematic, which is, I guess, innocuous enough as it goes along. Oh, maybe I can't scroll with this in OBS. I thought I could. Well, it's a
No,
learning
you,
curve anyway.
yeah, you got to do it on the actual window itself.
Well, that's lame. Anyway, this article goes in, and Medium actually used server space on this, and I don't know why. Because if you look at the article and you read down, and I don't have it linked in the description below, I guess I should have, but um, if you go through the article and just read through, you will see that, of course, it's not really an article about Baby Yoda being problematic. It is essentially rickrolling the audience for being there and actually taking the time to watch all of this. So I know that John kind of called me for being the only one that got it right and actually read it instead of everybody else running down and saying how problematic it was and what their opinion was on this. So I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I remember that going up in Discord, and it was funny. I looked at it, and it was because I I started seeing this Baby Yoda in memes and stuff, and I'm just some of them are funny, whatever, but I just haven't bought into it. And then I saw that article. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to click. I don't even want to know. I don't care. I'm not even going to add to this conversation. If I'd wanted to add to the conversation, of course, I would have clicked in and I would have seen it. But John did talk to me about it. He asked me if I looked at it. And I said no. But yeah, it was funny. It is, and this happens a lot. Yes, it's an amazing thing. You got to read because I'm the one that is going to sit there and I'm going to know. Go ahead. Go ahead. I just posted that article. Tell me you read that and you've got an opinion on what was said in that article already. But anyway, yeah, it bugs me.
Well, I don't want to rush this too much, but I know we got to keep things moving along tonight more than we have in the past with some of my other guests because you do have a show of your own to go and do yet here as we
Yeah,
go and to
yes,
prepare for and
yes.
everything. But let's go through a couple announcements here. Looks like the R-rated conservative will be coming back for another shot next week, so look out for him. I know he
Nice.
had his hand injury the last time we were supposed to be through, and Wyatt saved the day, but he is going to be coming back, so we'll be looking for him. The holidays are coming up, and I am going to be streaming the day before New Year's Eve, so watch for me as well over there. I'm not going to take a day off for that, so that's going to happen there. Looks like we've got a pretty full show today. It's going to be 6 topics today and not 5, but I think we can get through it all. We're going to lead the charge today talking about the ICE University and what happened there and when this actually all started. We'll talk about that. 2020 is in full swing right now, and whether or not we throw the bastard out before 2020, or we have to vote on one of these guys for 2020. The news is always out there, so we'll talk about that, including the fact that Buttigieg is on top in one of the states. We'll talk a bit about that. Ilhan Omar has been accused of being a foreign agent, so we'll talk a little bit about what that means, including something that one of her primary opponents, general election opponents, has said. There's a gun case going before the Supreme Court. You talked about this a bit on your show on Friday, and we talked a little bit about this on the Discord server over on your side as well. So we'll talk a little bit about what's going on there. And there was a stabbing on London Bridge. There's terrorist ties that are going along that. We'll talk about what happened there. And to finish it off on a lighter note, Trump got 24 hours of news coverage by putting his face over an unlikely body. So we'll look at that image and we'll see what happened there. It's going to be all of this and more over on Ed's World. Thanks for tuning in over on we're not tuning in on iTunes. We're tuning in on YouTube and, of course, DLive, Twitch, Facebook, and Periscope for Twitter as well. And if you can't catch it live, you can always go over and check us out on demand on YouTube and BitChute as well. We are on the audio platforms, as I alluded to before. You can catch us right away on Tuesday morning every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. So check us out over there. Ed's World is proud to be partnered with the Freedom Scoop Media Group, and we've got our merchandise shop open. Oops, wrong scene here, so I gotta close a couple things here. So we've got these t-shirts over here, including, I've just kind of changed some of the ones that we have up to a show for right now. So we've got the You Can't Tax My 2 Cents t-shirt, which is one of my new favorites here. Let's see, what else do we have? Oops. Get rid of that one here. We've got this mug over here you can pick up for a cool $5 over here. Or if for whatever reason you're really mad at yourself or anything right like that, you can pick up this Generational Gap t-shirt. You can pick any of these t-shirts up along with many, many more. And at checkout, if you use the promo code JEDGAR, you can get an additional 15% off. So go over there and check that out. After a lengthy introduction, it's always time to find out more about our guest. I know you've been here a couple times, but things change over the time. But why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm old. People confuse me with a boomer, though I'm actually a Gen X. I am half of the duo that hosts the Generational Gap on YouTube, as you said earlier. I am the Gen X version of that gap, and I'm a writer, editor. Typically, I lean towards editing. I don't write a lot, because I'm lazy. And I think you have a proclivity for writing. You enjoy doing some of that yourself.
Indeed.
No, I kind of focus on this and that, and I take care of my granddaughter. I garden with my wife. Very run-of-the-mill kind of guy, just very casual, laid back. I try and avoid every person I possibly can in the world because it scares me.
Well, that's a good philosophy to have. But you do go out there and you put your opinion out on the alternative media here. And the story is always great, how this always happens. Now, John has said on this show before, and I don't think you've ever touched on this, but you've actually had some background in traditional radio, did you not?
In traditional radio?
Yeah.
No. I used to... he may be referring to the fact that I've talked to him about doing like public speaking before, but
Okay.
I used to travel around and do sales training for companies, and I travel around the United States and get in front of groups of anywhere from 5 to 20 people, and teach them how. It was during the cellular industry. I was teaching how to sell cell phones. It was just one of those things. You riding that wave, but I did a lot of that, so I've been in front of people a lot doing that.
So, how did you decide to take that into standing behind this microphone that you have, which I think you've mentioned is the same one as I have, is it not?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I have gold. I have gold under my little black condom. Yeah. John and I. John is a cousin, my cousin's roommate. So we would, hanging out over there, we would get into conversations. I'm very outspoken when it comes to things that piss me off. I'm very reactionary to, and but I'm also able to discuss them. I want to talk about them. I want to know, I don't know everything. I'll be the first to admit that. And John and I would have discussions. I would learn from him. He would learn from me. We would share our opinions, and oftentimes we would disagree on them. And we determined that a lot of that was because of the differences in our generations. And from there, he had wanted to do something for a while, and I was like, I think it would be cool because I don't get tired of forcing people to listen to my opinion. So I was like, yeah, we could try it out. So we did. And, it's good. It gives me a place to vent, honestly, because I could really lose my shit over some of the things that go on, to the point where I would totally check out. I could not cope with reality anymore, because it's crazy compared to what it was 50 years ago, in my opinion.
Huh? And it's a good thing that you're here with us. I know that when John was actually thinking about starting out, he had approached me with kind of a how to, and that was before I'd ever started to, do the live stream podcast or anything like that. I was just doing informational solo videos at the time.
Right. Yeah, it's been a learning curve because, when we started the show, we were just doing audio uploads onto YouTube. So it was a little while before we actually started live streaming, and you can look back at some of the earlier shows, and it's very, duct tape, is the good common term that people use. So, and it's cleaned up as we've gone along. We're growing a little here and there. It's a slow grind. Um, but as long as people are part of the discussion, even if it's two people, three people, people are talking, and that's what's most important. I want to be a part of this new media that's there. I want to be making my voice heard, not just plugging it in on Facebook and hoping it gets caught in the consistent scrolling that goes on in everybody's fingers.
And that is one of the places where you're streaming to right now, actually, too. So,
Well, yeah, but there's a difference.
no, I
These
know.
just post, that posting that update. Here's what I'm doing, and here's the sandwich I'm eating, and here's my. No, no, no. We need to be having discussions in this country, civil discussions, but discussions nonetheless need to be had, and I don't think enough people are doing it. They're too busy just reading the headlines.
And yeah, like you said, it's been a growth curve for all of us. I mean, especially on the Freedom Scoop side. I mean, I was the
Mhm.
first one to do any of this out there, but I know, like I said, John came to me, Steven came to me, looking to where to start, how to build the followings and everything. And I mean, Steven's surpassed me on Twitter and YouTube by now, and you guys went past me on YouTube as well. So, I mean, we're all learning, but we're all doing different kinds of content, but still kind of working together and making it all happen for each other.
Yeah, one of the things that I've expressed to John, the Freedom Scoop outlet is really great for all of us if we really use it to its best potential. But a lot more of this going on between the different providers there on Freedom Scoop, where we're interacting, and I'll be honest with you, Ed. I've toyed around with trying to get you guys to get together to do a big round table once a month. I thought it would be cool, but no pressure.
Yeah.
But that would be an awesome thing if we all got together, did a big Freedom Scoop round table once a month. It would be awesome. I think Wyatt would get behind that too, because round table decision.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Well, we got some stuff to talk about here, but before we do that, we're going to go over and check in with the live chat. We will be reading a live chat between topics, every topic. And if you are over on Facebook or over on Twitter, we actually can't see you in the live chat as we go. So head on over to Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. The links are handily in the description below, and get in that live chat and become part of the conversation. So, oh, your co-host is here, asking who that old guy is.
Is he now?
He is. And we are actually, depending on the metric, actually, Robert, you and I are either in the same generation or I'm in John's generation.
Oh, let's see. Let's see if we get 99, 79. What year were you born?
84, which I've seen.
80.
I've seen millennial go from anywhere from 79 to 85.
I believe you're in the first half of millennial. Each generation has two splits. You're in the first half of the millennial. So you're not as bad as some of the other millennials, but I'm just saying, you're still a millennial a little.
And then Ron Helton has joined the show as well and said hello to both of us. So hello, Ron. Thanks for coming in and chatting. So let's start out by talking about this ICE University. So it's been reported now that ICE closed down a university just this past week in which they were using it as a sort of a sting operation to catch people who were coming in to get student visas but had no intention of actually becoming a student, is the way that I understand all of this. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. The university apparently had a brick and mortar location in Michigan, but there were no classes being offered. What did you see on this so far?
Well, I was reading through. Forbes has an article where they kind of, they're doing a, explanatory article. From what it's got me on the fence because I'm pissed, and I'm like, and then the other half is like, okay, it's kind of a Coyote Roadrunner thing that they pulled off where they're like,
I like that.
Where it's like, here, come get a fake sign up for a fake education and stay in the country by Acme, and then they walk in and they fall through a hole in the floor, and it's like, Jesus, but on the other side, it's like, okay, they're saying that some of these students were trying to question whether or not this was a legitimate university, and they were getting run around from agents, not administrators, because it's not a real school. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so you were, and those people got swept up with all of it as well. That I have a problem with. I mean, if they were legitimately looking for a place to sign up for school to stay in the country and go to school, and they fell into this BS because of they ran a con game, a shell game. However you want to call it. I mean, it's borderline entrapment.
I don't think it's borderline entrapment. I think it's flat out entrapment. It's like when you pull up in your nice fancy Trans Am with a big engine and next to the cop, and the cop revs his engine at you. You know what he's trying to get you to do.
Okay, so but would not the argument be made that if they're not citizens, then entrapment doesn't hold water?
I don't know about that, because I mean,
it's
where we go back with the Constitution. Is it human rights or is it rights granted by the government?
Well, there you go. If it falls under law, that's going to be something granted by the government, I would say. So whether or not it could be called entrapment. I mean, what can they do if they're here? I don't know. They're making the argument that they should have known it was fraudulent. They should be able to tell it was fraudulent. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, man. Your fucking con game is a con game, right? Pardon my French.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have to pardon your French on this show. You've never had to. I mean, with the COPPA thing, I mean, say whatever the fuck you want on this show.
I mean, it's because I'm wearing a Santa hat.
So, and I was listening to Tim Pool talk about this yesterday when I was going out of town for a little while. And he brought up a really good point, is a lot of these people who were going to this university were not, they were paying the tuition, but I guess it was more like grease the palm so you get the accreditation so you stay in the country. It's like trying to put off your student loans. Well, okay, you're just going to go to a school where you're you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to do any schoolwork. You're going to be in a bullshit program just so you sit back and keep the student loans at bay. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's again, it just the Coyote and Roadrunner just keeps coming to mind. It's one of those. It's or even whatever the old Keystone Cops from back in the the old UK show or whatever it was. But yeah, it's fucked up. It's not the right thing to do. It's just it's really not from a perspective of like you said, human rights. Where I stand on those is negligible, but it's not decent. It's not good manners. It's
No,
just
it's
saying,
absolutely
okay,
not.
that's all I could. That's what I keep coming back to. It's just not the right thing to do. It's not civilized behavior.
Well, it's not the
It's,
right thing to do either to cheat the immigration system by coming in and pretending to go to school just so you have a student visa.
I understand it's not, and it's a great way to catch those that are doing that. I get it, but there are how many legitimate people that are trying to do it the right way got caught in that, and is that just gonna? Do we just call that acceptable losses?
I don't know. And that is a good point too, because there are people that are coming to try and do it the right way, but I mean, for whatever reason, they can't. And there are a million reasons that they couldn't do it the right way, but they still want to come in and work. And of course, these are some of the arguments as well that came up from some of the progressives, because as soon as this was released, of course, every progressive in America, especially the ones that are elected to office, wanted to come out and start saying how horrible the Orange Man was over the fact that that all of this happened, and it was his ICE that was doing it. We're funding ICE to do this kind of thing, to entrap people, to violate the law at some points of this. And then it came out that this was an Obama era program.
Right, which is a very interesting thing, right? So I guess the question I have to ask is, have people been signing up for this place all this time since the Obama administration, and we've just not known that this is going on?
Either that, or they're popping in just to catch them.
I mean, and that's what I haven't been able to. I haven't gotten far enough. That was this. It's troubling. It's like, okay, no, Trump shouldn't. He did up the ante though, right? He kind of upped the ante a little bit. Well, they said that, and I'm sorry, I moved past that place. It said the Trump administration upped the ante by actually paying recruiters to pitch Farmington to students in danger of deportation. Okay. So he put some con men in place to convince them to sell it. So then it becomes questionable. Then it's like, okay, the cop is telling the prostitute, okay, go up and make the sale. It's good old entrapment then.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
or is it?
I remember too. I mean, this happened a lot in the '90s, where they were, before the internet was there to go alert people. The cops were running stings all the time. I mean, I remember hearing about a sting in Milwaukee that they were processing 15 Johns and 2 hookers a minute for a while.
Now, I will
just
say
by doing a sting. Sorry.
I will say, if these guys were telling these potential students, if they were saying, look, if you just want to stay in the country, here's this university you can sign up for. It's just a name. That's all it is. You don't have to go to classes, nothing. Now, if that's the case, okay, fine. They're telling them here's a way for you to break the law and skirt it. If somebody is honest and they're really wanting to do it the right way, they'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Right.
And from what I understand from this Farmington thing, that's exactly what it was. They were offering the opportunity to skirt the law and then just snagging them as they get in there.
Yeah. So then it can't be called entrapment if they were open with it. But I'm not getting the sense that they were terribly open with it. I mean, I don't know, but of course, Forbes is Forbes a reliable source. I didn't
I think
take
it
the
is.
time to look up the author of the contributor of it is Evan Gerstmann. He says his tagline is he's a professor and publishes on constitutional educational issues.
Well, I mean, this isn't like the Obama article that was supposed to be in the show notes, but I cut it to do this article where that was just some
Mm,
opinion piece writer that was trying to sway us back left on the Overton window. I mean, this is actually happening, and it's being reported by. Well, it's not so much being reported by some of the more mainstreams like your CNNs and whatnot, but it's
right,
definitely being reported by the likes of Forbes and the alt media.
right. And it's it's important. I think this is the kind of thing that we need to. Well, maybe we don't need to know that these kind of things are going on, but you know, is this something maybe we don't need to know? Um, because it just causes a bigger issue than it solves, I think, because then of course we have to sit here and discuss it and take sides on it and determine how we feel about it and what should be done and stroke our